Hey everybody! In today's tutorial, I'm going to bring you a fun Christmas card with the new Home for Christmas paper and the Happy Patterns decorative masks. I love this card, I'm not going to lie. Very fun and easy to make. To start with, I just cut this adorable little deer out of the Home for Christmas designer paper. Here's what a full sheet of the deer looks like, so you can cut out any deer you like. I love how retro and fun they are. Then I have the Happy Patterns masks, and I just want to show you each one. There's a fun little polka dot with the word happy in it, hence the Happy Patterns. Great little diamonds. And then the one that I'm using, which is, to me, a bead curtain, but I'm a child of the 70s, so that's what that means to me. Now I've taped down a piece of Whisper White thick cardstock with painter's tape, and I just go around the inside edges of the tape just to make sure that it's really securely taped down, because when you're sponging, you don't want that to lift. Then I just find a good spot for this mask, and I'm also going to tape the mask down with painter's tape. If you don't do this, it'll move, and then you'll be sad because you'll have kind of a psychotic result from your mask or stencil moving. Now I have about 1/8 of a Stampin' sponge here that I'm going to apply Pool Party ink with. To me, the retro feel of this paper calls out for aquas and reds and all those wonderful colors of the 50s. Brian King and I were talking about this paper and trying to figure out how to describe it, because it's not really vintage, it's more modern than that. He said it was something like his grandmother would have had for wrapping paper. But today, when I was doing this card, I realized that that funky little hip deer and the hip Santa are the paper that if Dean Martin stamped, Dean Martin would have used this paper. It's a very hip, funky, maybe even hipster, except in the cool way, not the current Austin weird hipster, hairy, stinky way that Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra had. So that's the feel that this fun paper and product suite gives to me. Now you can see my little bead curtains here, but to make them really stand out from the background of the paper and to emphasize the rectangle that I've masked off, I just want to add a little bit of ink around the edge so I can define that shape. Otherwise, they're just hanging in space. They're not really anchored. I think this really adds a lot. And I just used the ink that was left over on the sponge. I didn't re-ink, so it was sort of a mixture of Pool Party and Tempting Turquoise, because I don't really care about contaminating the ink pads or the sponges. They're all just tools, and I like to have fun with them. So I used to be more OCD about my supplies, but I've relaxed as I've gotten older and just enjoyed what I have. So look how cute he is against that fun sponged background. I love him so much. But now that I've been so careful with the background, I don't want to mess the greeting up. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Misty to line this up. And the greeting that I'm using is from Cheer All Year. I love the tall, skinny font on this. I think it's perfect for sort of the vibe, the hip vibe that I'm going for with my Dean Martin deer and my bead curtain. So I'll put that down about where I want it, and then just use the lid of the Misty to try to get those letters straight so that they will stamp straight. I know I have a little wiggle room one way or another, so I'm just going to use the grid to straighten this out. And since these are long greetings, sometimes it's hard to get them straight at first, especially if you're not careful about the placement. They can curve a little bit, which is a great effect if that's what you're going for deliberately. But I like to test after I line them up just to make sure I haven't stretched or curved the photopolymer. So that's what I'm doing here, and the grid paper kind of keeps me honest on the straight line. So I'll just stamp off on a scrap of that, and I can see that the R is just a little bit farther down than the beginning of the word. So I think I'm going to reposition that. And just scooch it down just a tiny, tiny bit. There are some great videos on how to curve your photopolymer stamps if you deliberately want to make a semicircle. That's one of the real advantages of photopolymer over rubber. I love them both. They both have their place, but they are very different animals and you can do different things with them. So now that I've stamped that, I can see that that's straight and there's the same distance between the words and the line, so I feel comfortable with that. I am using the new Archival Black ink, which is a fabulous watercolor, waterproof ink. I am in love with it already. And I'll just stamp that across the stenciled area. And it's perfect. I don't even need to re-stamp it. But now you'll see what it looks like with my sweet little Bambi in the corner. And here's the finished card. I added some of the Brights Pattern Pack paper at the bottom. And it's mounted on a soft suede card base. And I hope you've enjoyed this fun Dean Martin style Christmas card. Thanks so much for watching.